For those of you who haven't been able to make it these past few weeks, we're in the middle of a series. It's called The Grudge, and it's about how to let go of the past, how to let go of people who have hurt us. Last week we talked about how to let go of the things that we thought were unforgivable. The pain or somebody who hurt us so bad that we never thought we could recover from. Tonight I'm going to be talking about something a little bit different, but before we get started, I have a question to ask you. How many of us, like when we're watching a movie or we're reading a book or we're watching a TV show, we love a good underdog story? We like the story that nobody has any chance, that you're like, yikes. Anybody? Okay. How many of us like it? These are the kinds of stories that when you're watching at the beginning of the movie, like it's going to take a miracle for this to work out. So tonight we're going to be talking about somebody who had a miracle in their lives. But in order for that to happen, she had to do what we're going to be talking about tonight, and that's called forgiving God. The problem is, how many of us have been in this position where we're praying for something, we're praying for something, we're praying for something, and what we're wanting just isn't happening? We know that it's working, we know that we believe in God, or maybe we don't know if we believe in God because what we're praying for isn't working out. It could be a friend. You could be living your life and you're praying for something and nothing's happening, but all of a sudden your friend prays and bam, their goldfish is saved. Anybody been in a situation like that? You've been praying for a family member and nothing seems to be happening. A friend of yours breaks up with their boyfriend and girlfriend that wasn't the greatest. 3 days later, they're dating an Instagram model who has a job, who drives a great truck, and you're just like, wow, my last date was with Ben and Jerry's and I'm watching YouTube videos. We all have these moments where we're struggling through something and we're asking God, well, where's my miracle? God, where are you when I need you? Do you find yourself that you're disappointed in God, that you're disappointed it was going on? Have you ever felt that maybe God has let you down? It could be something like you're praying for a car, some of the older people, you're praying for a car, you're hoping for something to happen, and yet nothing's happening. Every time you get money saved up, something happens and you got to spend money. It could be the one miracle that you pray for every day, and yet nothing. You know that God has the power to fix it. You know that He can make everything right, and you're sitting here waiting for something to happen. What do you do where things are real hard and you don't want to say it and you're upset and you start to doubt that God's even there in the first place? Well, you're so upset about being disappointed, you're so offended, you're so hurt by things that you start asking God, are you even real? Before you know it, you find yourself angry at God. But you still want to trust Him. It's just hard. What do? When you're holding a grudge against God. Tonight we're going to be talking about, like I said, forgiving God. Now, before you go to your parent, to somebody says, hey, what did you learn youth today? Well, Pastor Peter was on something, and something was weird in his Chinese food, because he says we got to forgive God, but, how do I forgive God? Because God doesn't really make any mistakes. But instead, there's people in here who are angry and frustrated that God isn't doing what they keep praying for. And because they feel as though it's not working out for them, they're angry and they're frustrated with God in ways that they never thought were possible. They're angry and they're frustrated because they're wanting something to happen, and yet they look at God and they're angry with Him and they're wanting something to change. What do you do when you feel like God has offended you? The Bible show that we're going to be talking about, I got to give you a little bit of background information. There was a guy named Elkanah, and he had 2 wives. The first one was named Hannah, and our Hannah's not here tonight because she was busy, and the other one's name was Peninnah. Now, these 2 women, they didn't like each other, which was really strange, because you imagine being the dude in that situation, because everything they did, they had to compete. If one were to make a cupcake for him, the other one had to make like a triple layer cake. I cooked you chicken. Well, I killed the chicken, I baked the chicken, I did everything you wanted. Why? Because I'm #1 wife. It turned into a rivalry that everything that was going on, everything they were doing, it was just miserable. The other important fact in this story is that Elkanah means God will give you a son. So his entire life, people are reminding him, God is going to give you a son. God's going to give you a son. So he marries Hannah. He's like, yes! Elkanah Jr. right there. But nothing happens. So, because of that, a lot of people think that's why Elkanah picked up Peninnah, because he wanted to have a kid. So imagine Hannah being useless, feeling like a failure, feeling as though God is the last person who's listening to her prayer, feeling as though she's not even on God's radar. She's praying for a miracle. She's asking for a miracle. Yet the woman that she probably hates the most in this world is getting these miracles, and he's just sitting there. Once a year, they went to this vacation. They went to this vacation spot, and the entire way up, when they were at their vacation spot, and then on the way back, Peninnah would insult Hannah over and over and over again. And that's what we're going to pick up in 1 Samuel 1, verses 6 and 7. Please stand in honor of God's word. It says, year after year was the same. Peninnah would taunt Hannah as they went to the tabernacle. Each time, Hannah would be reduced to tears. So much so that she would not even eat. Lord, I pray that you bless this sermon. You bless whoever needs to hear it. Whoever walked into this room angry at you, frustrated by you, feeling as though you have let them down. Lord, I pray that tonight you open their minds, that you open their hearts. Let it be your words, not my words. And let each and every one of us walk out of this room different than when we walked in. We pray this in your name. Amen. Please sit down. So how many of us, let's put ourselves in like Hannah's position. She's praying for something. She's surrounded by what she wants, but she can't have. She's surrounded by what she's praying for the most, but she can't have. It's so much so, she's so miserable, she's so upset that she doesn't want to eat. She doesn't want to sleep. It's eating at her alive. She's begging God for this miracle, and it's just not happening, and nothing is changing. Nothing is moving. It's the same thing over and over. Here's Hannah, this godly woman, who I imagine was like the woman who would be the first thing to church, the last one to leave. Listen, I'm trying to be a good wife to my husband. I'm trying to live this good life. I'm trying to do this. God, if anybody else should do it, why aren't I getting this miracle? Then you got Peninnah, who I was reading one story, and they called her, she is meaner than a cat in the shower. Another translation, she's meaner than the one campus advisor at your school that you hate. We all know these people. And imagine, she's sitting there, she's God, why? Hannah's asking God, why are you blessing her and not me? I've been faithful. I've read my Bible. I'm trying to trust in you, and yet other people have what I want. Other people have what I need. Other people have what I've been praying. So God, why aren't you doing this for me? God, you know what I want. I'm trying my best here. Why aren't you doing it? So what does Hannah do? She prays, she believed. She waited. Year after year after year, nothing was happening. There's somebody in here who you're praying for something to happen. I don't know what it is, but every night you wake up and you pray for it. You wake up and nothing's changed. So you go again and you try and you come to church and you're trying so hard to not be upset. You're trying so hard to hold it together. You're trying so hard to not show any emotion because you just want to pretend like everything's okay when on the inside you're upset. You feel weak. You get to the point that you don't want to go anywhere anymore because you feel like everything you do, why bother? Nothing is changing. It could be the path, it could be the class that you can't pass. It could be the family member that you want to come back into your life. It could be the one family member that you're praying to be healed and yet nothing's happening. And you know he could do it. You know he could fix it. But he's not. You know he could, but he didn't. And you sit there with tears in your eyes, and you're upset, and you're praying, and you're saying, God, why? Maybe you've prayed and you've asked God, please, take this depression away. God, take this anxiety away. I can't live like this anymore. But sometimes, no matter how hard you pray, it's like the world's biggest mountain that you have to climb just to make it through a normal day. And one day you wake up and you're frustrated. Like Hannah, she wakes up and she's just frustrated. She's like, God, I've trusted you. I've done everything you could. I know that you hear me. But I'm starting to think that you don't care. So you pray. You believe. You wait. And nothing happens. You may not be able to understand completely what Hannah's like, but I think in one way or another, we've been in that position before. We're praying for God to help us with something. We're praying that God fixes this one problem that we want desperately to fix, but yet nothing's happening. And there's always that one person who seems to make it 1,000 times worse. For Hannah, it was her husband. Now before I start, I'm just going to explain something. He's a guy. And guys aren't exactly 100% up here. Let's just be real here. So sometimes guys ask stupid questions. For example, why does your hair look like that? Why'd you choose to wear that today? The number one question that I hear all the time in this youth group is, she's cranky. I wonder why. Here's a lesson, guys, don't do that. Because there's a chance that you're going to ask that question and the answer is going to be like a punch or a kick somewhere. But he's a guy. So Elkanah knows the question. So he looks at Hannah one night as she's crying. And he says, why are you so upset? I mean, you have me. I'm better than 10 sons. Why are you so upset? Don't cry. I'm here. Now, we all knew, we're like, ooh. If this was a movie, you'd be like, you just hear everybody go, oh, no. Again, that was a guy kind of question. Now, the Bible doesn't say what Hannah did. But I imagine that she gave that one face that everybody's mother may have, like if you don't get out my face, I'm going to rearrange your face, kind of thing. Feel Hannah's pain. So like I was saying, imagine she's doing everything she can. She has people giving their opinions. She has a husband who's going, nothing is working out. Nothing is being what she's wanting. What do you do when you wake up and you haven't gotten what you've been praying for? If we go further on in the story, there's a moment of Hannah's life where I think everybody in this room needs to have one of these. I'm not saying every time you're upset, don't do this. But at her lowest moment, Hannah decided, you know what, God, I'm just going to talk to you. And she let everything out. She screamed. She told God exactly how she felt. She said, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't live like this anymore. You're not answering my prayer. I don't know if you're real. I don't know if you're listening. I don't know if you can trust. I don't know what to do, but I can't do this anymore. What's happening right now, I don't want to do. When life seems to be hitting you with everything it's got, sometimes you got to let God know, because He is big enough to handle your hurt. He knows what you're going through. He knows how difficult it is. He knows that you're lonely. He knows that you're depressed. He knows that you're stressed out. He knows what you're going through, but you can't. He can't fix something unless you're willing to invite Him to touch that one spot. It's really easy to say, well, God, fix my depression, or God, fix my anxiety. But then when God says, hey, I have what you're looking for, you're like, nope, no thank you. Because He is big enough to handle your hurt. He loves you. He understands your pain. He understands what you're going through. And I believe wholeheartedly that God would rather you yell at Him. God would rather you be upset with Him than walk away with Him acting like He's not there in the first place. He understands your pain. He knows what you're going through. If you've ever been in pain, if you've ever been hurt, if you've ever been disappointed, take it to him. I promise you, he's big enough to handle your hurt. So Hannah, in one of her lowest moments, after she's done and she can't take it anymore, she says, you know what, God, I'm willing to do whatever it is. I promise you, God, if you give me this, I'll be at the church every day. I'll do exactly what you want. She walks away and she's still hurt. She walks away, there's nothing to hold on to. She walks away still with a ridiculous husband. She walks away still to Peninnah. And what does that mean? Is that sometimes you could come to the altar, sometimes you could pray, but the result isn't going to be exactly when you want it to. But what does she do? She still believes. She hangs on. She tries to trust even though she sees nothing, even though she doesn't see anything. She knows that it doesn't mean that God isn't working. She holds on and she doesn't let go. In 1 Samuel 1 verses 19, it says the entire family got up the next morning and went to worship God once more. As I was typing this message, I'm going to be honest with you. I have two aunts who have been in situations, who are, I should say, in situations like Hannah. This is my aunt and uncle. They are pastors in Pennsylvania. They're youth pastors. And the only thing that they wanted more than anything was a kid. People would criticize them. Well, maybe you're not praying hard enough. How many of us, we know that we're struggling with something and it seems as though everybody wants to say, well, you're not doing something right. You're not doing what you need to be doing. You're not praying hard enough. You're not believing God hard enough. But you're like, I have nothing left. As I was making this message, I FaceTimed her last night. And she told me that there were moments where all she did was she just cried. She wanted this answer to prayer. She wanted something to change. And yet it was nothing. Nothing was changing in her life. Nothing was moving in her life. And the more that she prayed, it seemed as though the harder things were. There's people in this room that you're praying for something. You're praying for the depression. You're praying for the anxiety. You're praying for peace in your home. You're praying for your dad to come back in your life. You're praying for your mom to come back into your life. But it seems like the more you pray, the further it is, or the further they are. What did they do? They held on. And they worshiped God. As we were talking last night, she said something. Oh, wait. She said the time spent waiting on the blessing is not wasted because it's preparing for the blessing. Just because you don't see it right now, just because it's not moving right now, just because your dad or your mom isn't calling you every day right now, just because when you still walk into a room, it's still stressful, just because you wake up in the morning and you're still sad, no matter how hard you pray, just because you don't see something changing right now, it doesn't mean that he's not moving. He's still good. He still answers your prayers. Some of you are waiting for something. Don't run from God. The blessing that you want, the answer to the prayer that you want, is going to be on the other side of the pain. You just have to trust God through it. The goodness of God is not based on what we see, but it's on who He is. We may not see the results that we're hoping for. We may not see everything that we're wanting. Like I said, our parents aren't going to come through the door tomorrow. But keep praying. Keep believing. Keep trusting God even though you don't want to. Keep believing that He has an answer even though you may not want to. Because God is good. He doesn't know anything else but to be good in our life. It says in the Bible that He works all things out for our good. If it's not good yet, it's because He's still working. Your prayers, they're not going to go unanswered. Looking back at Hannah, she went home. And God blessed her with a son. She named him Samuel. which means I asked the Lord for him. As far as my aunt, about a year ago, she had a daughter. She's the first girl in 12 boys. Trust me, was not expecting her. But there she is. They both learned something. When God says not now, it doesn't necessarily mean no. Just because you don't see it the moment that you want it doesn't mean it's not happening. You may be sitting here and you're afraid of what's going to happen. You may be sitting here desperately wanting the stress and the anxiety to stop. You come in here on a Wednesday, you come in here on a Sunday, and you pretend like everything's okay, but the other 5 days of the week, you're miserable. You're afraid to wake up in the morning. So you put on this face, well, you know what? I'm not going to let anybody hurt me. I'm not going to let anybody take advantage of me. I'm not going to let anybody, we put on this rock-hard exterior. Because we're tired of being hurt. You may be sitting here asking God, just please. I got nothing left. A lot of the time, I've said this before on here, I don't know what you're going through. I'm never going to lie and say, hey, been there, done that. I don't believe that that's necessary. But there's people here who I believe, as we lower down the lights a little bit, there's people in this room who I think they have nothing left. They're literally at the end of the line where they're like, God, I need something to change because I don't know what's going to happen. You're sitting here and you're like, God, answer this. Show me something because I can't do this much longer. I can't keep praying for something that I don't think is going to work out. I can't keep praying, expecting something to happen, and I get disappointed and I get let down again. As we stand and prepare our hearts for worship, I want you to please bow your head. Please get up and then bow your heads. There was a part last night when I asked my aunt, I said, would you take anything back? Would you change any of the pain? And she said no. Because what we went through, the pain, the long nights of tears, it was worth it. It helped us get ready for what we did not expect. The reason why things aren't happening right now is because you may not be ready to receive the blessing that God wants. But there's going to come a point in time when the anxiety that you're struggling with, when the depression that you're struggling with, is going to make sense. There's going to be somebody whose life you're going to change because of what you've been through right now. There's going to be somebody's life that you're going to be able to impact because you refuse to give up. Tonight, don't give up. Don't stop trusting God. Don't believe that God has just let you go because He doesn't do that. It says in the Bible, He will never leave you. He will never forsake you. Some of us in this room, the pain is so bad we don't know what to do. I promise that the answers are coming. Just keep trusting God. I promise He has not given up on you. He's still working. There's a song, it says, it's in Spanish. I'm not going to sing it because it'll be awful. But it says when it's silent, it's because He is working. Tonight, I want you to hold on to that. Your answers may not be coming right now when you want them the most, but I promise you, they're on their way. I don't know who's in this, but who needs to hear this. There's somebody who's mad at God. You feel like you've been hurt and things just haven't worked out the way that you want to. And tonight, I challenge you. Talk to Him. Say, God, I don't have anything left. I'm tired of praying for this. Be open. Be honest with Him. Tell Him what's on your heart. Tell Him what's on your mind. And I believe something will shift. I believe something's going to change. I may not see it, but I'm going to trust you. I'm going to let go of the hurt. I'm going to let go of the frustration. I'm trusting you not because of what I see, because I know you are good. I know you will never leave me. I know you will never forsake me. You are big enough to handle my problems. You are strong enough to handle my problems. If you find yourself waiting for something tonight, if you find yourself just waiting for a miracle, whatever it is, with every head bowed and every eyes closed, just put your hand up and then put it down. As we worship, I want you to do something. I want you to worship louder than the feeling in your head that's telling you that it's stupid because it's not going to work out. Worship without worrying about fear, without worrying and anxiety. Put your arms up higher than what you're feeling right now. God can't work if you're not willing to let him work. God, I come to you tonight, and we ask by your power and your love. We know that you are good even when we don't see you working. Give us the ability to trust you and know that you have a plan. Help us to see the reason why we are dealing with this. Finally, tonight, help us to let it go. Tonight, right here, right now, help us to let it go. And remember that you are good. Tonight, worship is going to be a little bit different. We're going to play 2 songs, and the first one, it just says, I know that you are good. There's people in this room that they're doubting. First of all, that God is good, and second of all, I believe that there's people in this room that are doubting God even exists in the first place. They're tired of being disappointed. They're tired of feeling like nothing that they're doing is working. If that's you tonight, if you're overwhelmed, what you're looking for is right at this altar. God doesn't leave you. God will never leave you. As we're worshiping tonight, and you need prayer, I'm going to be standing here. There's going to be leaders that are around here who will pray for you, who will be there for you. They're not going to judge you. They're not going to criticize you. You don't have to deal with stuff by yourself. Lord, I pray that as we start worship tonight, that you open their hearts, that you open their minds. Let us not be afraid of what our friends are thinking. Let us not even care about what our friends are thinking, because tonight is the night that we just need to be free. Tonight, I pray for those who are carrying this weight, that they need to just let go of the grudge against you, God. I pray that they do it tonight. Let us walk out of this room knowing that you are good. We may not see it. We may not feel it. We may feel that this prayer is never going to be answered, but let us remember that you are good.